What is up, you guys? Thank you for tuning in to this video, and as you can see behind me, another Montero. This is a 1989 Mitsubishi Montero. It's a V6 5-speed manual, has a limited slip rear end, and I'm going to fix it up in this video. We're going to clean it all up, super detail it. I'm going to do a ton of engine work to it. I'm going to replace every seal in there, new valve stem seals, timing belt, water pump, everything. Stay tuned for that, and we're going to get this thing back on the road. First things first, I'm going to give this thing a good wash, and then I'll walk you guys through it.
This is probably the dirtiest car I've ever had to clean. I started off with a pressure wash just to get off all of the moss and the super hard stuff. I actually ended up, quote, paint correcting this car. I say quote because I don't really know what I'm doing, but I did use a clay bar for the first time, and I also waxed it a whole bunch. Turned out pretty good.
All right, guys, now that this is semi-clean, let me go ahead and talk to you about it. This is a 1989 long wheelbase Mitsubishi Montero. So long wheelbase meaning it's a 4-door. They make 2 doors as well. This one's a 4-door. This thing is powered by the mighty non-interference 3-liter. I think they make 151 horsepower or something like that. The transmission is a V5 MT1, which is different from the KM 145 or the FM 145 that the 4-cylinder Monteros had. Supposedly these have, you know, fixed all those issues, synchros and all that stuff. But yeah, so I'm having a problem with this where it's cranking but not starting. So first thing, I tested spark. I have spark. It runs off starting fluid. I drained pretty much all the gas out of the tank and put 7 gallons of fresh new gas. I know the fuel pump's pumping because I undid it up there at the firewall and it was shooting fuel out of there pretty good. I don't know the pressure of it, so that's probably one of my next things to do. So we have fuel and we have spark, but we don't have fuel in the cylinders, it looks like, because when I pulled the plugs they were dry, and I cranked it long enough to where they wouldn't be dry if it wasn't firing. So I pulled the injector plug, one of these, the easy one right there. I pulled that and tested it for injector pulse, and that one had pulse. Really the only problem that it could be is either I'm not getting enough fuel pressure from the pump or every single injector is clogged. Now this car did sit for a year before I got it, and I made the discovery that there's no gas cap on it, so I guess it could be very bad gas and it clogged all the injectors. But I don't really think that. I do want to pressure test it. I'm actually going to compression test the engine now just to see where it's at. But yeah, you guys can tell that this thing needs quite a bit of cleaning in here. But overall, the car is really not that bad. Pretty much just gonna bring this thing back, get it running and driving perfectly. So I'm pretty much gonna fix this thing up and I'm gonna end up selling it. Let me show you guys the interior of it. This thing needs a lot of cleaning, but the seats are there, nice seats. It has a sunroof, which it actually works, which is surprising. Dashboard, pretty clean, but you guys can see like this thing is dirty in here. And, oh look at that, bouncy seats, meaning, I don't know if you can see, the whole seat moves up and down. It even has bump stops on it, so I don't know, maybe it's like a trophy truck, pretty much. If you can't add more suspension to the actual car, you add it to the seat. Yeah, this thing needs a ton of cleaning. Look at all that. Now, I ordered one of those vacuums that like sprays water, the spot cleaners. So I'm hoping that that will help me a lot. You guys can see the back is probably the worst part. I think a painter owned it, so there's like paint everywhere. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get that stuff off. Maybe with some acetone or alcohol or something. But like, look at that's all rusty. This thing corroded. So I don't know if water's getting in here from the rain or if they just drove it into a river or something. Oh, and another big thing. This has the limited slip. It also has 320,000 miles on it. I don't know if you can see that. 320,000 miles. So that's probably why it doesn't run. Okay, so I just did a compression test. Now this is cold with no oil or anything, so numbers are probably a little bit lower. 2, 129 PSI, 4, 122. That's, I think the lowest you want to go is like 119 or something, so 122 is kind of low, but it's got 320,000 miles. I bet it'd run fine. Get some oil in there, get it warm. I bet it'll come right up. Number 6, 141, that's more like what you want to see. I think you want to be in the 130 PSI range. And then we got 130 again up here. Number 1, 3 was 140, and then 5 was 139 or 138. So overall, not too bad of numbers. That 122 is a little bit low, but I also did this bank first, so kind of no oil in the cylinders or anything, and it's cold. Whatever, looks good to me. It'll run on that. All right, so I think the next step that I want to do is I'm going to unhook the fuel line right back here. I'm going to hook a hose to it, and I'm going to pump out maybe a gallon of fuel, or maybe a little bit less. I just want to get the fuel out of the lines, and then maybe I'll crank it a little bit with all the plugs out of it, just to see if I can kick anything out, because I don't want any of that old fuel in there. All right, guys, so I cranked this for a good 10 seconds, something like that, and that's all the fuel that came out of it, which is not very much. So either my fuel pump's bad or the filter's clogged, and I'm kind of leaning towards the filter being clogged, because look at this junk gas. So I'm gonna go grab a filter and replace it. All right, guys, little rundown on what's going on here. So I have fuel coming all the way up to here for sure. I have fuel going into the rail, that's for sure. Now I don't know if they're shooting out of the injectors or not. It's kind of hard to tell, and I would have thought that I could have pulled the plugs and seen some fuel spurting out of there, but I don't. So I don't think they're getting through the injectors. And I definitely have spark. Let's see, what else? I cleaned the spark plugs, I checked compression, so all that's good. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take this upper plenum off and see if I can see a spray pattern from the injectors. If not, I'll take the injectors out and spray them myself, and I'll make some sort of rig to clean them. Okay, I got the upper intake plenum off. Not really sure what I was hoping to get out of this. You can't really see the injectors in there firing, so what I think I'm going to do is just pull the injectors out and clean them one by one. All right, let me show you guys this cool little injector tester thingy I made. So it's just 3D printed. It's PLA plus for any of you that care. So pretty much this is just a random Montero injector I had laying around, because the battery was dead on the GoPro while I was doing it on this Montero. So that slides in there with the O-ring and all, right? It slides in. Boom. You have to slide in like that. And then you get your can of whatever this is, starting fluid. Will work fine. And then you give it a little bit of that. And then you apply power to these terminals, and it will spray out. So let me see if I can set you guys up to where you can see this happen. All right, guys, I finally found an injector that works. I went through 2 other ones that didn't work. So listen to that click. There's your click. So let me hook this up to my little contraption here. Positive, click it. Okay, it works. I'm gonna hold it here, get a little bit of pressure in it. So you can see this injector is good. This is way more powerful than the Montero ones. I think this is out of my brother's 3000 GT, so they're probably, I think they're like 330 cc's or something. I don't remember. But yeah, definitely more powerful than these ones. I wonder if I could upgrade it. But yeah, that's pretty much how it works. That's what I did with all of them until I got a good spray pattern. Well, guys, I got it running. So you guys saw me yesterday. I cleaned all the injectors, and then I put everything back together today. And I went to start it up. I cranked it for like 10 seconds and it didn't fire. And then I filled the intake up with starting fluid, and I started up, and it, coughing, and then it finally caught some good fuel, and now it's running. So I still think I have bad fuel in the tank, so I'm gonna get another 5 or 10 gallons and put it in the tank with probably some sea foam or something, just to see if I can clean up whatever's in the tank. I thought I drained it all out, must not have, but it's running now. I actually just drove it on the road, and it actually is very smooth for being 30 years old and not being on the road in 2 years. Still misfiring a little bit. I think I need to take the plugs out, probably just have new ones. I'm waiting on those to come in. I ordered a whole bunch of stuff from Rock Auto to do like a big service on this, and right now I'm gonna wash it really good. The other day I pressure washed it just to get all the moss and stuff off of it, but now I'm actually gonna scrub it, and I think it's gonna turn out pretty good. All right, I finally got this thing cleaned. It needs probably like 3 more washes to be actually clean. Or if I was a good detailer, I would just clay bar it and buff it and wax it and do all that stuff. I probably kind of want to try that, but I bet the paint would shine on this thing. It's really not that bad. It's like a lot of little stuff. Like they used like a white marker for that. There's like some little paint splots. There's like these, I don't know if you can see them, but they're little dots here. I think that clay bar would help with that. All right guys, well I cleaned the whole car. It actually came out pretty good. It's probably still a 10 footer, but I actually just bought this clay bar kit. With the clay. Tried it a little bit. I'm gonna wait till the sun goes down and then I'll do it. I think I'm gonna do a whole paint correction on it. I don't really know what that means, but I'm gonna do it. All right, so here's something you guys never do. Don't paint your cars with house paint. So one of the previous owners used a lot of house paint. So I used a bunch of house paint on all this trim here. I just sanded it all down. I'm gonna paint it gloss black. So I gotta wash the car again anyways. Figured I'd sand it all off and I'll redo this stripe on the bottom. But I think it'll make the car look way, way better.
Okay, so you guys can see that I have this all masked off already. Kind of explaining how I'm going to use this piece of cardboard to kind of mask off as I go while I paint it so I don't get anything on the actual paint of the car. I had it masked off pretty well. I didn't get too much overspray on it, and whatever overspray I did get on it, I was able to clay bar off of it later. So here I am just going around painting everything. It looks pretty good now. One thing I wish I did a little better was sand it, because it was painted with house paint, so you could see some brush strokes, but overall came out pretty good and leveled out nicely.
All right, I got it all painted. It's not perfect. I never thought it was going to be perfect, but it does look good from here with the masking tape on it still. It's got some shine to it. I didn't really want it to be super gloss, but you know, like in the corners up here, I got a little bit of overspray on the you know, the door wells that are white. I'm pretty confident I'll be able to get that little bit of overspray out of it, but not too worried about that.
Alright, like I said, I was going to clay bar the entire car, so that's what I'm doing here. Never clay barred anything before, but basically what you do is you want to keep it wet. I was using some car wash soap and water in a spray bottle, so I was spraying it on there and then clay barring it, and you can feel all the little particles come up. So this actually made a huge difference on the car. I would definitely recommend it if your paint is rough and you can feel little particles in there. I would definitely recommend it. It helped a lot.
Alright guys, so I'm going to attempt to clean the carpets in this thing. You can see they are super dirty. Like, this is grease and oil and stuff. But I just picked up one of these Hart extractor vacuums. You know, they like I don't know, water suction vacuum. It's got a little sprayer on it and stuff down here, and then it sucks it up. I used it on some stains in the house and it worked great. I don't have super high hopes for this because this is like super dirty, so if it even makes these lighter, I'd be super happy, because my brother and his turbo Camaro. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna clean the carpets in this thing. So I'm gonna start it off with some of this OxyClean, I don't know, pet stain remover. We had it already, so I'm gonna use some of that, and I'll scrub it in with a the scrubber brush over here. And you know, who knows, maybe this will work perfectly. All right, so this is after one pass. Quite a lot of work, but you can see this is way cleaner than it was before. And if you take a look at the tank, it
definitely is getting a lot of dirt out of there, so I'm gonna drain that out. I still have some solution left, so I'm gonna keep doing that. But man, that was a lot of quite a lot of vacuuming, and I still have some solution left. That's pretty good. All right, I think I'm done with the carpets here. So much cleaner. It actually looks pretty decent for a 30-year-old car now. Obviously, this little rust stuff is gonna get covered up by the seat. You won't even see it, but super clean here. Way cleaner around the edges. The back is pretty clean. So much better than it was. It's acceptable now. Okay guys, so I'm not sponsored by anybody, but if I were to be sponsored by anybody, I would want it to be Cobalt. Because look at this, nobody's taken this wheel off in at least 2 years. And who knows how much longer before that. And this is the old model. I've had this for like 7 years. And it's been underwater, it's been in oil, all sorts of stuff. Okay, got the right size. It's a 1/2 inch. It's only rated for like 250 foot-pounds or something, but I bet it's gonna rip these right off. Boom! Look at that, comes right off. And it has 3 bars of battery only, so it's just gonna rip all of these off. I really want to try out their new one. They have a new one about the same size as this, and it's 650 foot-pounds. So I would really like to try that out. I just got a whole bunch of parts in the mail to refresh the engine on this thing. So got a full Gates timing belt kit. So now if I were going with, this was a Gen 2 and it had a hydraulic tensioner, I would go with Aisin stuff. So Aisin water pump, Aisin tensioner. And I usually go with the Gates belt because Gates is the OEM or OEM quality. I think they're Japanese. Let's see. This is a made in USA, so good quality belt for it. And then the Gates water pump and the Gates tensioner pulley thing. I think it has the spring in there too. This is like 50 bucks. This is a pretty good deal. And I trust Gates. Gates makes good things, good products they have. I'm not sponsored, but I would be if they wanted to sponsor me. All right, so I got that. Let's put that down here. I got valve cover gaskets. I got Felpro camshaft seals, so 2 of them because it's dual, or it has 2 cams. And then I got, this particular car needed valve stem seals, so I got a bag of valve stem seals. Bought some Denso. You know what, I think I might be missing one thing here. I bought some Denso plugs here. These were, got a good deal on these. I think they were like less than $1 a piece, which is good for some Denzos. The spark plugs are super easy to replace in this. Again, if this was a Gen 2, where you had to take the intake off and everything to get to the spark plugs, I'd put some iridiums or double platinums or something very high quality. These are just, you know, standard Denso plugs. And what else I got? Oh, I bought a bunch of fuel filters. These were like $2 a piece. Rock Auto has some good deals sometimes. Like, you can tell these have been sitting a while, but they're fuel pumps, ultra power, whatever. $2 each. I hope these fit my other Montero because I'm just gonna slap one on this car right now. And I thought I bought a rotor for the distributor, but maybe I didn't. Not a big deal. I'm gonna put this fuel filter in, and I'll put all of this stuff in probably tomorrow or the next day. Probably be working on it a little while because I want to do it clean. You know, I want to clean up a whole bunch of stuff, the valve covers, the intake I want to clean. All right guys, well, this next part is going to be just me doing all the timing belt water pump stuff on the engine, so, and maybe cleaning the intake and just cleaning everything up in here while I work on it at the same time. So I'll probably just do a time lapse of that. It's kind of hard to film it. It takes a long time to film it, and this is probably one of the easier engines to do the timing belt on. It's single cam, there's no hydraulic tension or anything, so it should be pretty easy.
All right, guys, well, I actually decided that I'm going to do the head gaskets on this engine as well, just because it's got 300,000 miles on it, so might as well do head gaskets. I'm in this far, whatever. I also got to do valve stem seals, so it's a lot easier to do with the heads off of it. The head's not in the car, so I can't drop a valve or anything. So I'm gonna get to work trying to pull those out. Hopefully they come out pretty easy. I have a manual on it. I gotta take all my timing belt stuff back off. I guess I should have figured this out before I did all that, but it's no big deal. I'll do that, and we'll get the heads out of here and do the valve stem seals. I'm waiting on the head gaskets to come in. Hopefully they either come today or Monday. It's Saturday right now, so they might come today, who knows. Well, like I said, you guys, I did the head gaskets and all the valve stem seals when it was out of the car, but I got it all back together, and it's purring like a kitten right now. Runs really good. Very, very smooth. All right, so now I'm going to replace the shocks on it all the way around. The rear is going to be easy. Front's probably a little harder, but we'll get it done. All right, guys, let me show you the difference between a good pair of shocks and a bad pair. So look at this, look how easy. So I can do that with just my two hands and didn't even want to come out. Comes out very, very slow. The fact that I can push it in with my hands like that is a big sign. So here, this one too. Very easy. Barely comes out. Look at these guys. That's all the force I got. So that's gonna make a huge difference. Okay, so I guess you can actually probably put them either way, but here's the top. This is the bottom. It's a 14 millimeter up top for the nut, and then it's a 27 on the bottom. All right, the transformation of this 1989 Mitsubishi Montero is pretty much complete. It actually is for sale right now. I'm asking $5,000 for it. I think that's pretty fair with the amount of work that I put into it. Pretty much won't have to touch this thing for like another 60,000 miles. New shocks, everything. I think that's where I left off. It's been a little while since I recorded on this thing, but yeah, I put the new shocks in, and man, this thing handles so much better. It also helps that I tightened down all of the sway bar end links were kind of loose, so I tightened all those down, and now they're good to go. So yeah, it starts up, runs great. It'll do 70 miles an hour, no problem. There's just something different about driving an old car like this. Like, you could tell that they put some serious work into making this all look really nice. And I mean, it drives and handles really good for being 30 years old. It's definitely not like a new car or anything. It definitely has a road presence, and I think it looks super cool. I'm actually probably going to miss this one a little bit. I really like the chrome on the front. It just drives different than any Montero I've had, so I really like this one. And if I didn't have to sell it, I probably wouldn't, but I don't need another Montero, and I'm actually looking at getting something pretty cool for the channel. I think a lot of you guys would like it. When you guys saw everything I did, got head gaskets, valve cover gaskets, valve stem seals. I cleaned the injectors, oil change, timing belt, water pump, cam seals, spark plug wires, distributor rotor. I did all that stuff. Oh, shocks. Did all that stuff to this, so you guys know it's a solid rig. So yeah, let me know if any of you guys are interested in this, and I think that's going to be it for this video. Thank you for watching, and make sure you like and subscribe, and check out my Instagram in the description. See you guys in the next one. All right, let's do a cold start on this actually.